Hey, good morning, everybody. What's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. And I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. How you doing today, babe?
Pretty good. How you doing? This is the day after Christmas. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. We're actually laying against our pillows today.
We
We've
are.
been getting bougie in Hollywood and
We
like getting in front of cameras and got a whole studio set up downstairs and stuff. Trying to get uppity.
really uppity.
I don't know.
We leveling up in 2023. What you talking about? It's here.
Living it
2023
up
is
on you.
here.
Well, you know
Trying to
what?
do fun stuff.
That is so true. I'm having fun with you. I think this has been a pretty good year. Has it? How has your year gone? Everybody, answer it in the chat. Let us know. Did you have a good 2022 or a mediocre 2022, bad 2022? I feel
What
like
do you think? What was your 2022?
bittersweet. Had some sick relatives, my parents. Just sort of working through that, and then and then of course, the stock market was garbage. And that wasn't fun. Jen Nicole had a stressful year. We're sorry, Jen. We hope that 2023 is a good year for you.
I think for you it was less than ideal.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. It
Ray Mc,
wasn't as good as you would hoped it would be. I
True
think.
that. Ramen came in guns blazing. He said, "That's the most ignorant statement he could make. I just went to my daughter's piano recital just 2 weeks ago."
Yeah, he's weighing in on the
I know he's
situation.
already
He
ready.
like this topic. What is going on?
Yeah, well, our topic today was Akon, and in this interesting statement he made about Nick Cannon, I guess he was defending Nick because Nick likes to have kids in his spare time or make kids. Like making kids is easier than actually having them. You got to get the women to carry the babies and stuff. And Akon just said something that was so straight. I never heard this. He said that going to your kids' recitals is white guy stuff, and I was like, what? So apparently, all y'all black men out here, if you spending time with your kids, if we catch you at a ballet recital, that makes you a simp. You simping. Why you out here simping? Actually giving quality time to your children. Saw you playing with your daughter in the front yard. What kind of punk are you?
Well, here's the thing. Like, we're okay. So let's talk about this from a bunch of different angles. How would Akon come to that conclusion? Like, what do you think his thought process? Like, if we had Akon on here right now and we said, Akon, we want to listen to you because remember you talked about how black men don't feel heard. If we
Uh-huh.
were to listen to this black man, what do you think he would say? Like, what's your rationale for saying not going to a recital is a white thing? Like, I'm just curious. What were his assumptions? Where was he coming from? How did he come to this conclusion?
Honestly, I don't know exactly. I mean, you know, I, I can't help but think about this like music industry that's kind of created these hyper masculine cartoon characters that you see men trying to emulate on the internet because some of them never had a father. They never really saw what a real man actually does. So they watch some rapper that pretends like he's this impenetrable like Superman force or whatever, and they say, "Oh, that's what a man must look like." And it's really unfortunate because it really does turn the black male into like
Child?
this childlike
Mm-hmm.
monster of a cartoon character. Like you're not a real person anymore because you're like, I'm supposed to be banging over breakfast and gangster, and I don't love these hoes, and I don't care about my kids, and it's kind of unfortunate because that's the image. I think that's the impression they've always had of black men, for a long time,
So maybe
that we don't love our kids.
I mean, maybe he feels like recitals are just something that men don't do. Like, you don't go and get dressed up and spend your time at a recital, which I think is pretty ironic because if you're in the music industry and your child is doing something in the music industry like a
Mm,
like a recital, it seems like you would be like front center of that. But I don't know. That's my logic. But I'm sure Akon has a logic because last I heard, Akon was doing some really remarkable things in Africa.
well,
He
that's
was
what
doing
they.
some like awesome stuff. Or
That's
was he not? I don't know.
I don't know. The problem with entertainment is there's so much yapping. Like people talk about what they're gonna do, and You know,
I thought he was
like did
putting
every
money
like.
behind
Well,
it.
remember every year Diddy announces he's gonna buy like the Carolina Panthers, or he makes some big announcement that'll get like 100,000 likes on Twitter, and then he doesn't actually do anything. So a lot of these guys are
Ah,
all talk. Like I don't know. I'm not saying Akon isn't doing big things in Africa. I'm just saying, I like last time I heard he was building this city that had all this latest technology, and he was kind of like the black Elon Musk. But
where's the
has
city?
anybody been to this city? I want to go
Oh,
visit this Akon city with flying cars and this Wakanda that he's built in the jungle. Like seriously, I'm not.
dare I say he's the Umar of Africa?
Oh, see, that was just mean. That
That's
was
gonna travel.
that's gonna
Not
travel.
and throw myself into the middle of the mix.
Well, you know, I
I didn't
mean,
threw myself in the
well,
fire, boys. Be
well,
careful.
Umar been talking about that school since the 70s. So you know, I mean, let's just keep it real. I mean, you know, there's a difference between talking about things and getting things done. You know, and that's really, in my opinion, kind of a core element of manhood that gets lost in entertainment, because entertainment's all about flashiness. It's all about instant gratification. It's all about fast talking about what you're going to do, but not actually following through. And we don't measure the follow through, you know. And I personally think that that's a core element of manhood that gets lost, you know, when you're talking about hip hop culture.
God, that is so interesting because just him talking about it, I felt like it actually happened. I'm
What
just really gullible. I fell for it.
we're talking about
With the
the
thing with Akon,
Akon's
I
Magic
really thought
City.
I was like, wait, that city is there. What are you talking about? It's there. He did all this great
Well,
stuff. Like in my
they drew a
head,
really
it's
nice
been
picture.
done.
They drew a really nice picture of it.
Yeah, but he's so. I just remember reading about. Golly, see that tells you how tricky it is. Like I really believe that something was done. He got results.
Yeah, and well, you know, it's Kanye. When I was talking on the phone with Kanye West for a while, I remember him talking about building a city and all this other stuff, and I was like, that's a great vision, but you know, you do understand it takes like hundreds, maybe thousands of people working together to do that, and it
He
didn't take.
seemed to understand that
I don't know
though.
if he gets it because I don't know if he under. I don't think he has the people skills required to get that many people coordinated to do one thing.
Yeah, he's definitely not like a detailed person. He seemed like to be like a really good visionary, big picture person, but he has to know that you need to hire the people
Hmm.
to have their feet, the boots on the ground to make it happen.
Yeah, that was how I ran my business.
Hmm.
I was like that. I had a lot of that, you know, big picture visionary kind of tendency. And my brother, he's the engineer, so he would
Yeah.
actually build the teams and the systems necessary to implement the vision, right? And that's why I love him. You know, that's you know, one of the reasons why I just advocate so much for family business, or you know, working with people who complement you, you know. And in fact, uh, shameless plug. In fact, in my new book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, that's kind of what I break down actually, is sort of a discussion about, you know, sort of figuring out what your strengths are, and then utilizing that power that exists right there in your circle and your family to find people that can really complement you. Because and it was a true story. My brother, you know, I used to change his diapers when he was a baby, and he became my greatest business partner, the most loyal person I ever worked with, and he really filled in the gaps for me, you know, in so many ways. And so, if you want to get a copy on Amazon, it's out there. And by the way, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. My wife is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work, and my field is finance. So if you'd like to learn more about what Dr. Alicia does, you can go to coachingwithdralicia.com. All right, so let's go back to this Akon thing. All right, so give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of y'all think that Akon's comment was off? In case you don't know, Akon basically said that attending recitals is a white guy thing. Um, yes or no? Do you think that comment was kind of silly? Give me a yes if you think it's silly. Give me a no if you think that he has a point. Okay, Mike Nice says yes. Darlene says yes. Um, okay, Dennis says it was a conscious statement. Okay.
Hmm.
Ursula says yes, it was off. Miss D says very off. Jerry says yes. Okay, Capri says no. I'd be curious to know. I really want to understand. You
Yeah, me
know
too. I
where
like to hear. Did he say in the article? I didn't read the whole article, but did he say why? Did he give a reason why?
I hope he comes out and explains it. I didn't see an explanation, but I think that I think that what um, triggered me a little bit to kind of say something about it is because I just feel like the black man, we just get mischaracterized so badly. People really think that we don't care about our kids. Like I've heard people that were honest with me tell me that in other countries they tell you like don't. And here's the thing: Akon's not African American. Let's make that clear. He's African, right? So, but the perception of the African American male is that he'll get you pregnant and he'll leave, and then you'll
Hmm.
be stuck with all these kids. Like that's what a lot of foreigners tell their kids when they come to the U.S. They're like, "Don't get with a black man. He'll have kids with you, and then he won't take care of them." So I think that for him to say that, it's a little bit complicated, right? Because Akon's not African American, but he's benefited tremendously from African American culture, or at least hip hop culture, which overlaps a little with African American culture. African Americans look up to that, and I think that this comment kind of bothered me because I said, man, like what is this? Who told you that that neglecting our kids even more than they're neglected already is a good thing? Like they're already hurt. They already don't get to see their fathers a lot of times. They're already going through pain. Like where does this come from? It doesn't make it like you got time for the hoes and you got time to
Hmm.
go to the club and you got time to be in the studio and you got time to be with your boys, but you ain't got time to be with your daughter or with your son at a recital? Seriously?
Yeah, it just seems like, why go to him and ask him what he thinks about Nick Cannon? First of all, being born and raised in Africa, I mean, even though we are attached at the hip, but at the same time, you don't know about us. So why are you commenting on something you don't know about? Like, you don't know about us. You're not the authority. You're not the mind of, how are you weighing in on our issues? Like, why not in this article? Why not go to somebody who is within us and really represents what the culture is really about? And why further this? It's almost like printing an article, or so-called printing, digitally printing an article of Akon weighing in, someone from the outside weighing in on behavior that is destructive to the Black community, you weighing in on that and that being digitally printed. That's almost like co-signing into this sort of cultural method that is destructive to Black people. I mean, think about, as a child when you were little. I'm thinking about when I was little, and I did do recitals.
Mm-hmm.
How wonderful I felt when I saw my dad in the audience. Like, how great I
Mm-hmm.
felt when I saw my mom in the audience. Like, that made
Mm-hmm.
me feel important, that my little recital is so important, that my dad, and it was a big deal for my dad to come because he lived in another town. And he would make a big deal to travel up during Christmas or during in the summers or my birthday, and like be there for me during different times, and it made me feel good. So, I mean, why would we promote the absent father? Why would
Mm.
that be promoted in that sort of way by somebody who's not even part of us?
Yeah, it almost comes off like Akon, from what I understand, he's got a little American in him, but a lot of African in him, and
And that's
it
mhm.
almost goes back to like how you ever hear about people going to like African countries and they think that we enjoy calling each other the N word, and like they look at what they
Yeah.
see in the music and they think, oh, that's what Black people in America do. And I feel like the movie Black Panther kind of captured a lot of that. Like in the Black Panther, a lot of people were real concerned about the first Black Panther because they got the impression that remember Killmonger's character was African American, and
Yeah, he represented how they saw
right, he
us.
was a thug, he was a gangster, he did had no respect for the elders, he killed one of the elder women in the
Mm-hmm.
village. Like it's like that's what those people do.
Yeah.
And it's like, but we Africans, we're different, we're better. And a lot of people felt that that was kind of a slight toward African
Mm-hmm.
Americans in terms of how we behave. So I almost wonder if Akon was kind of doing something almost a little bit similar to what I've maybe seen white people do, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, in America, the Black men do this and the white guys do that. Like and it was a problem to me. I felt the need to speak up on that because I think that there's millions of Black fathers that are trying to break generational curses that are literally like taking classes on how to be like the best dad they can, and they're pissed. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
why are these dumbass rappers disrespecting our name? Like, put some respect on my name. Like, stop that. Like, I know I can't, I ain't made no album. I don't have, 10 million fans, 10 million white people that'll watch me stand in front of a big stadium and hold my nuts and call myself the N-word. But like, it's really the regular dads that are driving the community, and the rappers are getting all the credit. But without making babies, like disrespecting women, embarrassing the community in every way they possibly can. It's kind of infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about great things because it's almost like an elitism thing, that especially with the Black Panther, it was just like we are royalty. We have all of this brain power and wonderful skill, and then those Black people in America don't have any of that. Like as if people like
Mm,
us don't exist.
that is
And
so true.
Killmonger is what we take. And it's interesting because I think what's fascinating, if we want to talk about the second Black Panther, how here they go to this African American female and they drawn upon her intellect. Although she was kind of smart, but she did kind of represent, what they think of in terms of the Black woman.
Mm.
She came in, she was really smart, but she was a little kind of like blown away, like, what's going on here? Hey, what's going on? What did you think about her character?
Oh, you talking
She
about
didn't
the black
really,
girl
she
from
wasn't,
from MIT?
yeah, it's
Oh, I
like
was
how
like, I was
they,
like, which one is it?
yeah, like how they, I mean, she was super smart, but she had no idea how brilliant she was. She had no
Mm.
idea. She was a little clueless and a little aloof.
Well,
I found her to be.
that's interesting. I didn't think about that. I got to
Hmm.
process that. Yeah,
Yeah, we never really
there's a
processed.
lot to, I mean, there's a lot of signals Disney sends us through the Black Panther movies.
Yeah,
And people forget, these are Disney movies. These are not black movies.
we
It,
never really processed Black Panther together. The second one, Wakanda
I
Forever.
thought we did.
No, no, we
Oh,
didn't. I know you did. You did your own podcast on it, but we didn't do one together.
oh, okay. Well, anyway,
2022, boy.
I know, right? What a year. What a year. Anyway, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, and you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins, where we lay against our pillows and try to have a smart conversation that's also fun. We're both professors, so we're kind of nerdy in that way. So all of our fellow nerds, feel free to join us. And even if you're not a nerd, maybe you can learn something. I don't know. We'd like to think out loud. So if you could hit the thumbs up button, also make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I want to remind everybody, don't forget that the Black Business School, our Black Wealth Boot Camp for Children, starts tomorrow. So if you'd like for us to, in the Black Business School, to train your kids on the fundamentals of economics, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. We get started on the 27th, and we basically, the course is called 15 Things Every Black Child Should Know About Money. So we created that because a lot of you were saying that you love our Black Business School for Children, but you didn't have time to take your kids through the curriculum. So we will do it for you. We'll train your child. Just have them show up on time for 3 days, and we'll give them training that will last for the rest of their life. So let's do a quick survey. Let's do a quick little since it's the end of the year and everything. I figure we do a little memory bank on some of Nick Cannon's beautiful children. So I grabbed some pictures. The kids are adorable. This man is he is really trying his hardest to populate half the planet. And you see that? Look, see that picture?
I can kind of see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another one. I don't know who that lady is. Poor thing. She has no idea what's in store for her. Um, that's her. That's him and Mariah.
They have twins, right? A
They
set of
did,
twins.
yes, yeah. And actually, the twins have grown up. Let me see. I can find a picture of the grown up twins. I think that's it. Oh, that's Mariah without Nick. They like, Daddy's busy. He's with his other 85 children.
He's totally big. Can you imagine how they feel? Hold on. If you're the oldest, are they the oldest?
Yeah.
If you're the oldest, can you imagine how you feel? It's just like dad's not here. He's going around populating half the planet.
Well, a lot of the oldest kids end up feeling mad and neglected. Like they feel like they didn't get the best of their
How
parents.
could you?
Because what was it? Because I remember Venus and Serena's dad, Richard, when his movie King Richard came out, his oldest kids were pretty upset with him.
Wait, he's got older kids.
Yeah, it's like
It's like you don't even know.
yeah, like him for both him and Tiger Woods' father. their prodigy kids were like their second chance. Like if I'm not mistaken, I
Oh
believe
my God.
yeah, like so I think he had a family and then he decided, okay, this one didn't work. So he moved and he got a new wife and had more kids. And
And
then
then put
they
his hopes
became
and dreams into these new ones.
well, maybe. I
It's
mean,
almost like,
but
oh,
but we
you feel like you failed with me, and now you're gonna start over again and do better, bigger and better with
like I was
another
the I
person.
was the failed experiment.
You know what? It's almost like, the first pancake. You ever make pancakes? Boys, I know you made pancakes.
That
It's like the first pancake, it don't ever turn out right. It's like the first pancake, the first batch of cookies don't ever work.
is so
And then
funny.
you're just like, wait, the second batch. Ah, I got it now.
But you learn.
It's almost like that with people, but actually, it's not like that with people. But that's how older siblings, that's how they feel
Damn,
sometimes.
trial and error. Well, I get that. I was the oldest. I was with my
Oh,
parents.
did you feel like the bad pancake?
I didn't feel like the bad pancake. I saw my parents become better parents after I grew up.
Well, you're explaining what you saw in your parents, but did you
Nah,
ever feel
because
like,
I'm an optimist. I'm
oh, you
appreciative
don't
of
want to
what they
go
did.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
the rest we work out in therapy. But yeah. So here's some more Nick Cannon. Okay, I think that is that Mariah again. I think that's another Mariah Carey picture. But here's one, and I don't know who these women are, but I guess they're the breeders for Cannon, or they're very pretty ladies.
That would be a really interesting reality
That
show.
Mass Singer money
Instead of
get you some
Masked
pretty
Singer,
women.
it should be the Masked Mother. And
The
then he should he should have them audition to be my next baby mama,
oh, that would be fun. The Mass Mother.
the Masked Mother, and then have them perform, and then we all vote. How about we all weigh in on it and we all vote on who's the next baby mama for Nick
Well, no,
Cannon?
they've had shows kind of like that, like The Bachelor and stuff, where a bunch of desperate women compete for one guy.
Yeah, but you're not competing to be married.
Oh, that's
You're
right.
competing just to
That's
be
right.
a
I'm sorry.
mom.
Only white guys get married. That's a white people thing.
That's a white people thing that actually have an intact family.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's some more
Now we
pictures.
being sarcastic.
That's
This
him.
ain't even nice.
He's taking his kids to the Nickelodeon stuff. That's
Can I
him.
just say something? This is funny what we're saying, but it's no joke what we're saying.
That is so true.
So let's just differentiate. It's funny, but it's no joke.
Well, I wonder. This is an interesting experiment though. Like I'm really wondering.
Oh, we gonna follow these kids, see what
Well, I'm
happens.
wondering how this is going to play out. Here's the thing. If you look now, right, you've got, these kids that are now grown up and they're bursting their parents' bubbles publicly, right? You have Master P and his little situation. Kirk Franklin's son has been pretty off the chain, and there are a few others out there. And
50 cents.
50 Cent's son, yeah,
Mhm.
and basically, I'm thinking like the odds that Nick will have at least one, two, maybe three kids go public, in 15 years and just dog their dad out. It's pretty high. Like Herschel Walker's son, I think his son is gay, which is quite ironic, for Herschel to be this staunch Republican, right? But yeah, I think he has
Well, a lot of staunch
well, better
Republicans.
yet, his son is I'll say his son's feminine, right? And he's very feminine and loud and outspoken, and he just loves to bash his father. And
Really?
yeah, oh yeah,
Huh.
he goes hard on his dad. And I think it's more like it's unfortunate. It makes me sad, just all of it. And Master P, I think, reflected my feelings about it the most, where he was like, Master P, I think he cried. He was like, son, you trying to destroy me, son. And I think that um it's hurtful, but it's kind of like I don't know. It makes you wonder how this is going to play out, you know,
Hmm.
because it definitely can happen. I imagine if you're so busy engaging the world that you don't have time for your kids, and then also you have the child that's been affected by one side of the story. They see their
Hmm.
mother's pain. Maybe they see their mother being lonely or in bad relationships, and maybe they're feeling like if my daddy had never left, none of this bad stuff would have happened.
That's terrible. Or if I was good enough, my dad would be with me. So
Mm,
it's like you internalize, okay, if I could just be perfect, if I could just do the best recital there is, I know I would have a dad that would be with me. And
mm.
I must be wrong. I must be bad. I must be terrible. I must have misbehaved or acted out. And that's why my dad's not with me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
a sad thing to internalize.
well,
I'm not good enough. If I was good enough, then I'd have a father that was here.
well, what I'm gonna kind of chalk some of this up to. I'm gonna be a little judgmental here, so I hope everyone can forgive me for sounding judgmental, but I feel like Nick's decision to kind of have so many kids without really thinking about the emotional impact on having all these children is a reminder and a reflection of celebrity narcissism. It's sort of this desire to I want to reproduce, I want to replicate myself badly and as much as possible, all around, spread my seed. And I'm not really thinking through, how these kids are going to feel knowing that other kids have a daddy that gives them attention and my kids will not have that. My kids will have a daddy who sits on a pedestal and we worship him, like this untouchable figure, but my daughter's going to grow up, maybe feeling like she needs attention from a man, and we know what that can cause with self-esteem issues and all that. My sons are gonna, maybe my sons will either look up to me or they're going to hate me, one or the
Mhm.
other, right? So I don't know. I kind of feel like it's I don't know. I feel like there's something about celebrity culture that creates like a lot of this, like, okay, I am the most important person. Do you know that Kanye told me that he thinks he's the most important person on the planet other than Vladimir Putin?
I forget about that.
Yes, he said that. And I was sitting here like, dude, like you're
Oh
talking to
my
me. Like,
god.
I'm like, Negro, shut up. Like you sound stupid right now. Like
Oh,
this is
voice. Let's
I
not
I
do
didn't know.
this.
I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I was just literally like, that might work for your little fans, maybe little Asian kids that buy your $400 sneakers. But this does not work for me. I'm a fellow black man. I live in Chicago like you. I can see right past the Wizard of Oz curtain. I respect you. I think it's great that they're giving you all this money, but you don't have that game doesn't work on me. I have a PhD. I can peel back the layers. Stop that. Like just stop it.
Yeah, and
Like I did not like think about that. Imagine if I was sitting there
yeah.
and I was like, Alicia, I am the most important man on the planet other than
Who?
Snoop Dogg and
Who
Big
would you
Bird.
put? Who
I'm
would
as
you measure
I'm
yourself
as
to, Boyce?
important as Snoop Dogg and Big Bird.
Big Bird. Hold on. That was my man when I
Hold
was
up.
little. Hold up.
Wait. He had the weirdest voice, didn't he?
You know that. Okay, so let me let me say something. So this is the thing. Like that's not that. Of course, what we're saying is that that's not manhood to go around and have all these kids and not be physically there for them because we know children need more than just financial support. I guess maybe they're getting that right. But the thing is that what if Nick Cannon, what if his name was Nicole Cannon? And he went around and he had a whole bunch of, she went around and had a whole bunch of babies, back to back babies with all these different men. What would we be saying about her?
Well,
Nikki
what
Cannon instead of
she would be
Nick Cannon.
Nick Ho.
Nicole.
They call her Nick Ho Cannon. Well, you know what? No, but really though, people and I personally think people can live their life the way they want. But I think that it's also your right to have your perception of it and understand the consequences of it. But like Steve Harvey's daughter gets that kind of
She does.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel. I mean, they list all the men she dated in Hollywood, and the list is not short. It is not a short list.
But
And
she's dating.
she's dating, but she's also probably sleeping. I mean, you assume that she's sleeping with a lot of these guys, right? And a lot of men, a lot of people are like, that's kind of a lot, So I don't know. I mean, it's debatable, right? Everybody has a right to live the life they want to live. I think it's okay as long as you really think through the consequences. Because if you just do stuff because you think it's cool and flashy, then um you end up making choices that may look good in public but are very painful in private.
Hmm.
You know, that are very painful in private. They have very heavy private consequences. Like, like you sleeping around, you catch diseases. You ain't gonna tell nobody, that you're secretly battling HIV. you know,
Hmm.
or with Nick Cannon, you don't know, when you talk about making all these kids, maybe it looks cool, maybe the manosphere is cheering you on, because you're expressing your divine masculinity or whatever, but they're not there with you when you're like crying because half your children hate your guts. and you've worked your ass off to be successful, and to you've written $10 million worth of child support checks, and your kids still see you and they just snarl at you because their mothers, the pain of their mother has transferred to the child, and the child is like, you're the cause of my mama's pain because you should have married my mama, you should have been there in the household with us like my friend down the street, and you didn't do that because you were too busy trying to impress a bunch of people on TV.
And that's not blackness. The thing is that I work with a lot of middle class, upper middle class, very well educated black families and black men. And they are excellent fathers for the most part. And so um, I would say that this sort of mentality is really not what we are. It's not what we are historically. It's not who we are. I'm talking about historically, like ancient times, or even in the 50s or the 60s. It's just not who we were. It's just not who we are.
Mm.
I'm just gonna I mean, maybe it is for certain cultures, subcultures in the black community, but it's not like that for the majority of the culture, I think.
Well, give me a yes or no in the chat. Do you or some man that you know values spending time with their kids? Give me a yes. Let's all the real black fathers, let's stand up. Or better yet, and all those who know good black fathers, say yes in the chat. Do you or a man that you know spend time with the kids, go to their recitals, go to their sporting events? I'll tell a personal story. I remember having a football game when I was in the 6th grade, and I remember I caught the kickoff. I was scared to death, but I was a kick returner, and the ball came. I was too scared because I was little. I didn't know how to catch it and run, so I let the ball hit the ground and I picked it up and I ran with it, and I almost got a touchdown. I
You
ran.
did?
Yeah, I ran like four.
Oh my
This stupid little
gosh.
white boy clipped my legs at the last one. I was so mad. I should have jumped over him. But anyway, I remember when I got tackled, I ran it to like the 45, 50 yard line. It was a real good kick return.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to the stands, and I looked straight in the stands, and as I was running to the sideline, and I saw my father cheering for me, and I saw
Oh,
him smiling, and the whole crowd was cheering,
yes, they were.
I never forgot that. Like, that stayed with me for the rest of my life,
Hmm.
you know. And so I just really, hope that guys don't fall for this stuff. That your kids don't get value from seeing you at their recital. I mean, I just remember how
Like,
good I felt.
what does Nick Cannon do? Does he show up to to these houses and just take selfies and post them on Instagram and then go on with his life? Like, what is he doing?
I don't know. He's important,
Like,
so I
why does
guess
he feel like he has to take a picture with all of them
he's
and
got
then
to
put
go
it
back
up
to the
there
Masked
and then
Singer
go?
and judge people or hang around people that wear costumes and
Oh my
sing
gosh.
like who wear like I don't know, elephant costumes and stuff. Like, that's why he's
Is he
important.
smiling in this picture?
I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know.
Well, that's an awkward smile. Look at that. That's looks like a stressed smile.
It does. It looks like, hurry up and take this picture. I gotta go.
I gotta
Like, I
I
gotta
gotta
head
flex
out.
for the gram.
Yeah, he's flexing for the gram. And then, of course, we know a lot of people who are flexing for the gram. But on the other side of that, it's really
Well,
sad. I mean, look at that.
R.I.P. DJ Twitch.
Look at DJ Twitch. Like,
R.I.P. We were watching one of Twitch's videos today.
those, yeah.
Yeah, dancing, looking as happy as he could be, flexing for the gram, and struggling deep down.
Y'all
Um,
need to watch that movie Smile. And if you've seen
mm,
it once, you need to watch it again with a new set of eyes.
yeah, that movie Smile really
That's deep.
was really deeply reflective of how a lot of people smile through life, and it's on the inside they're just not all together. And I think that's a reflection of why mental health is so important.
Yeah. It should be congruent. Like, what you have on the outside, your facial expressions really should be congruent with what's on the inside. And if you're in a situation where you feel like that can't be congruent, you need to look at your situation better.
That's excellent advice, Dr. Alicia.
How
You,
about that
you
for
must be you
2023?
must you must be a
I
therapist.
must be a therapist.
Well, actually, Alicia is a licensed therapist, and if you want to go see her website's coachingwithdralicia.com. She sees a lot of clients and patients and couples and families and stuff like that. So feel free to visit her website. If everybody could hit the thumbs up button real quick, please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button. Also, don't forget these podcasts are on Spotify. If you want to listen on Spotify or Apple, just search for the Dr. Boyce Breakdown. We kind of clump together like all the content in one place to make it easy for you to find. And also, if you want to take a look at my new book, it's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And it's basically a simple blueprint for any family that wants to build generational wealth that lasts for centuries.
I love that title.
You like that?
Yeah, it's almost like a play on Biggie Smalls. Remember his
Oh,
the
the
ten
10 crack commandments.
the 10 crack commandments.
Never let them know your next move.
What? Come on, Biggie.
Don't get high
On
off
your
your
own
own
supply.
supply.
What?
Never sell no crack where you rest at. I don't care if it's just an ounce. Tell them bounce.
You know what? That's so brilliant in a way.
Yeah, but maybe instead of teaching each other the 10 crack commandments, we can teach each other things that
Yeah, but
actually
I was thinking
won't
of it.
won't get us killed or sent to prison.
I'm thinking of it as a metaphor. It's like
It wasn't no metaphor. He was teaching.
no,
No, it was when hip hop went crazy,
it was when
and they
hip
were
hop went
teaching
crazy.
like they were glorifying the whole drug dealer culture. Literally, I mean, and it's all it's. This tells you a lot about money. How if you sprinkle money on something, you could feed people rat poison and make them think it's health food. If it connects to money,
Mm-hmm.
like that's why we looked up to all that because the dope dealer had the money, and now the rapper has the money, and the rapper glorifies and amplifies the dope dealer, right? And we think it's all cool because white people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great to see black people destroy themselves. That's wonderful entertainment for us. Let's
And
give
that's
them lots. We'll
something.
give them lots of money for this, and then we think that that's success."
But it's weird how when I was younger, because I was when I was in my 20s, how we would listen to that, but somehow in our mind we would translate it into like in my job, I'm gonna do this. Like we used it as like um almost like as encouragement for like to grind harder
I never
for
saw
some
that.
reason.
I I
And
I, I get it.
and I know it sounds terrible because like I used to listen to AMG and all that gangster rap, but I didn't follow any of that kind of stuff. But it was just weird that I wanted to listen to it. But the 10 Commandments, I mean, that's biblical too, boys.
Right, but
And we take
here's my theory on why it didn't affect you. The reason the music didn't affect you is because you had a father that was a college professor and a mother that was a teacher, and you lived in a very safe environment. You lived in a tough city, but you lived in a
I
safe
was
environment.
sheltered.
Right. So you
Mm-hmm.
had an experience that might be consistent with like the white kid that goes to college. He's going to enjoy the music too. You know, there are white people that can recite Biggie's lyrics faster than a black person can. But never once did they look at the minstrel show and say, "Oh, I want to be the minstrel." They don't look at the minstrel
Didn't
show and
identify with
right,
it
they
like
don't
that.
identify with it on that level. They see it as entertainment, right? Where but the kid who is in that same situation, in that same neighborhood, that doesn't have the guidance of two intelligent parents, that really does see the crack dealer outside on his stoop when he walks out the door, he might look at it differently, and I compare it to like it's like a busboy that works in the cotton club and he sees a black man on stage who's doing a minstrel show and then he's serving the white people who are watching the show. So the white man and his family, they're watching the minstrel and they're like, oh my God, that boy's so talented. And they know, and everybody knows that this guy on stage is getting paid pretty well to be a minstrel. And the white people love it and they're clapping. The busboy's witnessing all this, right? So the white family sees the minstrel and they're thinking, okay, this is an entertainer. I'm not trying to emulate him. I want to be a lawyer or a doctor. The black kid is looking and watching this whole transaction. He's seeing the white guy, like excited to see this black guy perform and how much money the black guy's getting. And that's when the busboy says, oh, I'm going to be like him. And I think that's why you get so many black boys that want to be rappers and athletes because they're seeing all the wealth and all the adulation that rappers and athletes get. Whereas, like, if you go to a Chinese classroom, the half the kids will want to be engineers, the other half will want to be doctors.
Mm-hmm. But they love our culture though. And they do, right?
Hmm.
The Chinese
Yeah.
people. Um, don't they? When we were there, when we were in China, we saw elements of black culture that was to see a black person in China, they were all
Well,
over black people.
well, they did like
Black people
they.
had like celebrity status in China.
Well, they were intrigued with us, right?
Yeah.
Like we would see signs for. I think I remember seeing an advertisement for Ice Cube's movie. This is the first time I was in China in '06. He
Oh.
did that movie Triple X, and I remember seeing an ad for that
Uh,
movie. And I remember that all the boys watched basketball, so the NBA finals would come on in the middle of the day because of the time difference. Like they'd be watching Like it'd be at lunchtime or breakfast there, but we'd be watching the NBA finals from the night before in the States because
Would
they
everybody be paying attention?
oh, all the kids, they were, it was on every TV.
Gee.
Yeah, every TV. So they do have, some appreciation for commercialized blackness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They maybe not so much the rapper, because actually in China they actually banned celebrities from flaunting their wealth. They also banned uh feminine men from being on TV. They actually said we want our boys to see masculine examples of manhood, not men who act like women. So they have a different view on
So
some of
they
the
have a
stuff.
different set of standards for themselves than they have for black people.
Well,
Black people, they don't care. It could be
well,
all sorts of different images.
yeah. Well, did you hear about TikTok? I mean, you did see where
Yeah,
people have
yeah.
called
I
out
saw the
TikTok
whole TikTok
and how
thing. Isn't that
the
interesting?
algorithm feeds different content to kids in the States than to kids in China.
And now that we've seen their plan, they haven't changed. They're just they're continuing what they're doing. It's not like they're adjusting because we figured it out.
Yeah, well, if you
Mm-hmm.
if you don't teach your kids, then the world will teach them. They'll teach them a bunch of crazy stuff. So don't let the world teach your kids. Educate your own children. And speaking of educating your own children, before we head out, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow our Black Wealth Boot Camp for Children starts. We are going to be educating a few lucky kids on economics. It's called 15 Things Every Black Child Needs to Know About Money. So if you'd like to sign your child up, it's a live training. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com and you can join us. We start the 27th. So it starts tomorrow and all the information is there when you sign in. So if your kids are at home for the holidays, just put them in front of the Zoom, and we will educate them over 3 days. And when they get done, you will be impressed, and they can take an exam at the end and get a certificate. And this does a lot for their self esteem. It does a lot for their identity. And this is based on my years as a finance professor. I'm telling you guys the secret sauce to getting your kids ahead economically is get them trained early. Don't wait until they are 30 to learn the things that they should learn when they were 7. Okay. So that's my 2 cents. That's my belief. If your child can learn how to play basketball and twerk at the age of 10, they should also be able
Oh,
to
they
learn
be
how
getting
to.
those TikTok dances down.
Oh, the kids.
Be practicing those TikTok
Every
dances.
time I see a child doing TikTok dances and they're 2 or 3 years old, you know what I see?
What do you see?
I see a genius. If you're
Mm-hmm.
2 years old and you can dance like your mama, that tells me you're a genius. So my question is, what is that genius being used for? Are
Mm-hmm.
you going to be like the perfect stripper? Is that what the child's genius is going to be used for? Because I'm sure,
Get those stripper moves going.
yeah, stripper. Let's just be clear: strippers are intelligent and athletic. Many of them. I went to a strip club one time before I married you, of course, and it was a bachelor party, and I remember sitting there and thinking, these women are so athletic. I was like, Lord Jesus. And I asked one of them, I said, how did you learn how to like hang from a pole like that and do the splits and pull yourself up, like carry your own body weight like that?
What'd
And
she
she
say?
she said I was in gymnastics.
Oh no.
Yeah. And she
Let me remove my
we gotta
kids from
get we gotta get
gymnastics.
Taylor out of
they,
gymnastics.
they're
Yeah, yeah, but she learned
they're
that
learning how to strip.
she had and you look at like the muscle development on the legs, like she had strong legs, like a because I was a track coach, so she had really strong
Trying to
legs.
recruit her for the track team, Boyce.
She could have been. I mean, that lady could have done any sport. And I'm telling you, like strippers work hard for their money.
Stripping is a sport, man. We need to have that in the
The
Olympics.
strip Olympics,
Yeah.
the Stro Olympics. That's what they
Strip
call
strip Olympics. You gotta make it
it.
sound right. Yeah, I don't. In case anybody hasn't realized, I don't judge things. I don't. I try not to personally have judgment to try to say one thing is better than another. I try not to judge. I
Mm,
try to see things from a bunch of different perspectives. I try to, honor things, but at the same time, I don't want to see all of the promotion of these fatherless homes because it's not what's honored in our culture. It's not what people are doing. It just is a little annoying because there's so many black men doing so many great things with their families and they're invisible.
yeah,
You
and
know,
I agree with you 100%. And I think it's I'm a believer that anybody can make whatever choice they want to make as long as you think through the consequences, the ups and the downs, and the pros and the cons, because a lot of times the so-called culture that they promote will encourage young men to make really bad decisions, and nobody
Mm-hmm.
tells you about the consequences. Like a nerd like me comes along, and I'm screaming like, hey, if you get drunk and you carry a gun, bad things can happen. And everyone says, oh, you're old fashioned, you ain't lit, you ain't cool. But then you see something like what happened with Megan the Stallion, and they all got drunk. He pulls out a gun, shoots her in the foot, and now he's going to prison for a long time. And
How long is he going?
he could get 20 something years in prison.
That
Like,
is really,
career is over.
that's what is wrong with these draconian sentences. Like, I mean, if he served some time in prison, 20 years, that's like almost like a lifetime in prison. It just
Yeah.
seems like these sentencing laws are just pretty remarkable. I mean, he's not like a danger to society so much.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's carrying guns, shooting people in the foot.
Yeah, but I think 20 years is a little excessive.
I do too. I mean, I'm not a fan of taking away. I'm a fan of rehabilitation and some degree of punishment.
I
But
know people who've killed other people and gotten less than that.
yeah, but I don't know. I don't feel sorry for him one way or the other. If that's what he did. I mean, he was
Did you
convicted.
see the video of his father talking?
No, I'm sure his
I
father's
thought,
very
did I
upset.
send it to you?
No,
I feel like I send you stuff, but you should hear what his father has to say.
oh, really?
He was
Okay.
really passionate.
Well,
I'll send it to
it
you.
was interesting to read about when you talk about the Megan the Stallion shooting, Megan the Stallion, sorry. Which, by the way, I don't understand why we would name a black woman a stallion, because you know what stallion really means, right?
A stallion is a horse,
It's an adult male castrated horse.
adult male castrated horse.
Yes,
When I think of stallion, I think of like the booty of the horse that kind of
right,
moves around,
right. And I just think I mean,
that kind of
I, I,
prances
I
around.
just find it odd that I'm the only one who thinks it's strange that we name black women after horses and think
Was
that's
she?
a good
Did
thing.
she name herself that, or how did she get that
Well,
name?
that's her stage name, Megan the Stallion.
That's terrible because doesn't she have a college degree? And
I don't think she has a degree. Maybe she
I thought
does.
she got a college degree and did like some really great stuff.
Well, no, I don't know. But yeah, but it's interesting
Uh
because
huh.
Tory's father was passionate about the sentence. But I read Tory's bio, and for whatever reason, I don't know the details, but his father was only in his life to a certain point. His mother died when he was young.
Oh no.
Um, when he was 14, I think his father sent him away to go live with a cousin because I guess he couldn't handle him or whatever, or maybe sent him to his grandmother's, and his grandmother then put him out because he was kind of getting in trouble. So he kind of got thrown into this thug culture.
Wait, so he was rejected and abandoned by women, very important women in his life.
Maybe, yeah. I guess his mother. I mean, that is an important woman. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about his mom. You said his mom died when he was young. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So that's a major loss,
It
right?
is. It is.
And then his grandmother, whatever reason, just couldn't handle him anymore. His father couldn't
Mm,
handle him, and but he was sort of rejected and abandoned by the two most important women in a young boy's life.
right. Right. Right.
So that says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So it turns out that Megan does have a college degree, so I think that's good.
Yeah, I
I mean, it's
remember
good for her.
watching her accept her diploma
Okay.
or degree.
Okay. So I'm gonna say this as a college professor. What good is a college degree if you don't actually use it for anything productive?
I thought she was.
Like what?
I think she
Like
was
twerk? You
doing
don't need a degree to twerk.
well. Twerking is just her side her side job. She was doing other stuff in
Okay.
terms of women's health or something. But I may be making it up. I have to look it up.
And you would imagine with a college degree, you would read your contracts because apparently the contract she signed was one that she said was like exploitative and everything else. But
Yeah, well, she
but I
didn't
was
have the
like,
college degree by then.
oh really?
She's now
Okay.
learned. She gets it now.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of feel like I think that we got to be real thoughtful about kind of asking ourselves not questions like how much money do you make and how famous you are, or did you get a college degree, but really what is the merit of your contribution to society? Are you encouraging people to be smarter and healthier and live better lives, or are you perhaps promoting stereotypes that are damaging and harmful to the black community?
Mhm.
That's sort of being cloaked by the fact that you make a lot of money, and then you're on TV and everyone looks up to you because you're rich and famous. That's it. Only because you're rich and famous. Like, I don't look at Tory or Megan and see them as two people that, either one of them, where I'm like, oh yeah, I really want my kids to grow up and do that, to live that life. You're at a Kylie Jenner party, you're pissy drunk, you get into this crazy situation, this chaotic situation. Tory clearly was the victimizer, right? He was clearly the aggressor,
Aggressor.
right?
Hmm.
If he shot her, right? In the court says that he did, but it doesn't mean Megan is this perfect person who always makes the best choices
Well,
in her life.
nobody's
Because,
perfect.
remember, like, and it's not even really, it really goes back, in my view, like how you were raised. Like, was your father around? What was your family situation like? So, so what I would say to women too is there's an accountability here. Like, why are you chasing the thugs? I mean, you talk about the nice guys versus the thugs. We make fun of the nice guys. We make fun of the guy in the library. We make fun of the hardworking guy, but we look up to the Tory Lanez, because
Who
he's
looks up to Tory Lane?
a lot of women do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's got, for very simple reasons. He's got money, and he perpetuates the savage thug image that has
Hmm.
been cultivated for the black male. And I can say this as a black man: if you date a guy like that, you are putting your life in danger. Like, seriously, I mean, I know we think it's cool. We're taught to believe that a guy who's willing to just go out and kill people and do all this other stuff is a good guy. But when you turn around and tell me, oh, he shot me, or he beat me up, or he did XYZ to me, none of that surprises me.
Yeah, I take a developmental approach to this sort of thing. And my developmental approach is that sometimes people have phases they go through. Sometimes girls may go through, or when you're dating and you're out on the scene, maybe there's like a phase you go through where you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna try some of this type of guy.
Hmm.
So maybe you're just exploring. I mean, I'm not saying that's what's happening with her, but I'm saying that's what's happening. This is something that I saw happen. It's just almost like a phase. I'm gonna go and date this particular type of guy who's
Hmm.
like hard and adheres to this toxic hip hop culture, of course, but it's exciting, it's fun. Those guys are fun. They
Yeah.
got money, they got money to spend, they got holes in the pocket, and it's when they're willing to spend, like, that sort of thing is fun and exciting. And so that could be something that could be alluring. I'm not saying that this is what I'm promoting, but I'm just explaining like a
Hmm.
phase that somebody goes through when they're dating. Just like how black men, you know how
Yeah.
y'all go through these phases where Becky is like the ultimate
Well, it
prize.
ain't Becky. It's more so. It might,
Sometimes y'all go
or
through that
or it
too.
might be just the low quality woman who's a lot of fun, if you know what I mean.
It
But
could be
would be
that.
right. So you are right. Like, and here's the thing, right? So some people would think that we're blaming Megan for what happened. Nobody's blaming anybody. Somebody holding you accountable for the situations you put yourself into. That's not blaming you. That's, if I walk through a dark alley with a pocket full of money and I get robbed, nobody's blaming me for getting robbed. But somebody might say to me, hey man, we told you, if you walk through that dark alley with a pocket full of money, bad things can happen to you. So, this idea that holding someone accountable is somehow blaming them for what happened to them is
Well,
that
she is. Well, I don't know how you can hold someone accountable. I mean, she was the one shot.
she
So
was
that
right.
doesn't, it
But
doesn't,
a lot of women wouldn't have been in that situation in the first
well,
place.
you
A lot,
can't say,
smart
it's
women
tough
would.
to say that.
I get it. Go ahead.
Okay, I have to go have a meeting.
Okay.
But what I was just saying is that she was the one that was shot.
She was
She wasn't, so
right.
she was technically the survivor of the situation because
Absolutely. And what's gonna happen? She's gonna probably date another guy who does the same type of behavior
maybe.
until she gets a corrective action in her life.
Okay. Bye, everybody. I gotta go. We'll continue this conversation. We should do another podcast. Continue
Okay,
this
well, I'll
because I
finish.
have thoughts about it, but I don't have time to share it.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking then.
Okay,
But
keep talking. Hmm.
yeah, so I'll just make this final point. It's not a matter of blaming anybody. I don't think the word blame is the appropriate term. It's really, and I admit my bias comes from the way my parents raised me. If I went into a situation where something bad happened to me and I was clearly the victim, my parents would basically say, okay, you are the victim. This did happen to you. But are you going to live your life as a victim, or are you going to replay the situation and figure out Why did you put yourself in this situation in the first place? Why were you with those people in the first place? Why were you hanging out with that girl in the first place? So ultimately, at the end of the day, choices are everything. And we could just, I think that what does occur in our community is that we see ourselves as Black people, we see ourselves as always the victim. Things happen to us, and then we say, oh, well, there's nothing I could do, I'm the victim, I'm always the victim. And it's like, no, you're not always the victim, because that didn't happen to everybody. What happened to you didn't happen to everybody. So if you look at, for example, a rapper whose contract is bad, and they say, I was the victim, the record label stole money from me. Yeah, you kind of were, but you also could have read the contract. Yeah, you were the victim, but you also could have made a decision to not sign that deal. Yeah, you were the victim, but this didn't happen to everybody. So, what was it about your choices that made you vulnerable to a scenario where you could be victimized in such a way? That's what I believe. I think that we can all be somewhat accountable for our choices, but it doesn't mean that it's a matter of assessing blame. The blame was clearly established in the Megan Thee Stallion case. Clearly, Tory is the one to blame because he pulled out the gun and shot that girl. But I can tell you a million times, I've seen it a million times, when I was on college campuses, there were so many scenarios where college students would go out and get super drunk, and then something terrible would happen and somebody would get victimized. And one of the things I remember saying, and no one really listened, I guess because the culture is pretty strong, but I said, why are we not warning young people about the dangerous things that can happen when you're under the influence of alcohol? Why are we letting them continuously get raped, get shot, get arrested, get beat up, have all these crazy things happen? And you could easily stop a lot of this by simply not even allowing for the creation of environments where these sorts of things take place. There are a ton of people in prison right now for things that happen while somebody was drunk or somebody was high. So let's talk about the culture that encourages young people who really don't know shit, who haven't even really evolved in terms of their level of thinking. Let's stop encouraging them to go out and get high and drunk or acting like that's just normal. That ain't normal. Not every 19, 20-year old or 25-year-old wants to go out and get high and drunk every day. And those kids tend to be safer. So just be smart. That's I think that would be my point on all that. So anyway, I know we talked about a little bit of everything, and Alicia's already gone off to a meeting. So I'm gonna hit on that, guys. It was great talking to you, and Alicia's website's on the screen. So if you could hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. And we'll be back with another Pillow Talk again soon. And we hope you guys have a great day. And I'll talk to you later. Take care now. Peace.